Hello and welcome to Wise Women's Conversation. My name's Angela Council, your host for this podcast, and this podcast is a space for us to be having the conversations that women need as we discover life after 50. Together we're going to explore topics like health, well-being, mindset, purpose, and the wisdom that helps us live the best lives as we age. So come along and join me for today's conversations. Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of the Wise Women's Conversations. My name is Angela Council, and this week I want to have a chat to you about taking a break. Now, I'm not talking about going on holidays, whilst that's a great thing to do. I'm going to share with you today a couple of simple things that you can do each day that actually just gives you a bit of a break. Now, we are all busy. We live in a busy world, and it's even busier if you're a woman that's running a business or you're leading teams or you're in corporate. Everyone wants a bit of you, and you're expected to be able to show up and perform all of the time. But what happens when you're feeling really tired, when you're not getting as much sleep as what you'd like, and as we come through the menopause transition, the energy levels go down. Sometimes you start to get different health conversations going on, niggles, all of that. And a lot of that is related to the amount of stress that you're under. And yes, changing hormones certainly plays a role, but stress is the underlying driver of a lot of the things that you're experiencing. So it's like, what can you do if that holiday seems like it's way, way off in the future and it never seems to get here? And even weekends, it's really hard to switch off because you've either got more work to do on the weekends, or you kind of start to slow down, and then it's time to start thinking about what's happening for the next week. So there never really seems to be any break. And then, if you've still got kids at home, that it added on top of all of that, because then you've got responsibilities to your family, and maybe you've got older parents. So weekends might be devoted to looking after parents. It's like women have so much going on. And I think women in today's society have so much more going on than what our grandparents, our grandmothers did, because for the vast majority, they weren't doing the things that we were doing. They weren't running businesses, they weren't working in corporate, and, and they didn't have all these different responsibilities of people they had to look after. So your holiday's not coming up. Maybe you might be able to, get a free afternoon every so often where you can fit a massage in, but it's kind of like you're fitting that in. And even that, I know I love my massages. I really love my floats. I love doing float tank therapy. And there have been times when I've had so much going on in my business. It's like, I'm just going to go and have a float. But whilst I'm there, I get into the float tank. It's really great in starting to relax, but my mind just keeps going and I can't switch my mind off. And I start thinking of all these different things, all the things that have to be done. Doesn't happen so much these days. I tend to have a massage first. My massage therapist, she gets right into those muscles. That can be a bit painful. And then I go and relax and have a float now. And generally I fall asleep for 45 minutes or so. It's very, very refreshing. But it hasn't always been that way. And for you, you might even find that even if you do get that little bit of time off, it's really hard to step away from all of the overwhelm, the pressure, everything that's going on in your life. But I'm going to share with you some really simple things that you can do each day that are just going to give you a break. And what we're really trying to do right now is just switch off the adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands are pumping out this cortisol, stress hormones all of the time. And there's a saying that when emotions are high, intelligence is low. So when we're in this highly stressed situation and the body is in a stress situation, it's really hard to think clearly. So I'm going to give you a few tips that will just give you micro moments, just small moments in time that you can just take a breath and just for 2 minutes, take some time, and then you will come back thinking clearly, more energy. And the more you do this, the more grounded you're going to feel, and the more you're going to be able to bring those stress levels down and you'll actually be able to perform better. So, we think we have to keep go, 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 but in fact, stopping for a few minutes will actually help you achieve more. It is better for productivity to take a break than it is to just keep going and going and going and going. So 5 tips for you. Number 1, take 2 minutes every couple of hours just to breathe. Simple breathing. And, that is just really, really simple. A slow breath in. So, and let's go now. Let's do it right now. Breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to breathe out for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm not going to count out loud this time because I can't breathe and talk at the same time. So let's do it again. Breathe in for 4. And breathe out for 6. And again. And out. And doing that for a couple of minutes will calm down your nervous system. Now, the out breath being longer than the in breath is important because that's what calms down the nervous system. That's what switches off what we call the sympathetic nervous system and switches on the parasympathetic nervous system. So just really simple, it calms down your nervous system. So having a longer exhale than you do inhale. And just doing that. And another thing you can do while you're doing that is just place your hands on your heart and imagine that you're breathing into that heart space and filling that up and then breathing out. And you can imagine that basically this light is coming out through the center of your head and then it comes back down and you breathe into your heart and you create this circle that goes round and round. You can imagine that. So it's something you can do. 2 minutes. Put something in your diary that every couple of hours you stop and you have a breathing break. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2. If you've got lots of meetings back to back, and whether or not they're online meetings or they're in-person meetings, instead of rushing from one meeting to the next, actually make sure you put a break in between them. Now, when I've got I've got calls, I've got consultation calls, I always give myself 15 minutes break. But you might not have 15 minutes. That's okay. Just give yourself a couple of minutes break instead of rushing into the next meeting. And once again, this is where you can put your breathing in, or you can start rolling your shoulders, your neck, have a bit of a stretch out, or if you've got the opportunity, step outside and breathe the fresh air in and do your breathing exercises out there. So it's just having a bit of a ritual that you have a break. And by doing that, that also finishes up one meeting and gets your head ready for the next one. Because what happens sometimes if you continue to race from meeting to meeting or from client to client, you're still in the previous meeting, you're still talking and you're still thinking about the previous client when you come into the next one. So by actually having a clear break, and as I said, I generally try to put 10 or 15 minutes in, I go and make a cup of tea. So I actually walk away from my computer, walk out of my office, and I go and make a cup of tea. That is a break for me. And then particularly if I've had quite a few meetings, I will also go outside and just breathe in some fresh air and, maybe just kind of play with the dogs or whatever. But it's just taking that break, but just making sure we've just got this break. And it might not be meetings, it might just be tasks as well. So if you've been doing one thing for a while, take a break before you move on to the next thing. Don't roll it over. And look, these are all just really simple things that are just going to help you to reduce that stress. So that was tip number 2. Tip number 3. We quite often can work in like automation. We just do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And we don't actually stop and work out what it is we really want. What do we feel like? What do we want? And so every so often, just ask yourself, what do I need right now? Because guaranteed, you don't need to be working. If you ask that question, you're not going to say, I need to be doing all these big tasks. Maybe what you need is to take a break. Maybe what you need is to have a chat with someone, connect with someone. It's like, but what do I need right now? And then be really intentional that when you're doing something, it's a choice that you're making rather than something you're just doing on automatic replay. I'm just doing this because someone expects it of me, because I've got a deadline. It's like, what do I need right now? And if what you need to do is to continue to work, that's fine, but be really clear that that's the decision you're making. You're not just doing it because someone else expects it of you. It's actually just a bit of a side conversation there. There's a book called The 5 Regrets of the Dying, and one of the top regrets is that people say, and this was written by a palliative care nurse, and she was asking, what was their biggest regret, and the biggest regret was doing what other people expected of them and not doing what they wanted. So not actually listening to their own needs. So that was tip number 3. Tip number 4, and this is how often, and I know I do it, don't do it with my phone so much anymore, but I still do it on my computer, when I get a bit of a break, what do? We go and we look at social media. It's like we got on our phone and we start scrolling. Or for me, I get on, because I don't have social media on my phone anymore, but I still have it on my computer. So if I've been working on my computer, sometimes it's like my brain needs a break. And what I do is I just flip over to Facebook and start scrolling there. And it's like, really, like, it's all just dead. Like, there's nothing these days, particularly, there is nothing really in there that really lights me up too much. Oh, except for the hiking videos. I like them. But there's just, you get caught into people's conversations and people complaining and, it's just like, why am I doing this? And we do it. It's just a habit. The brain gets a dopamine hit from social media. That's the way social media has been designed. If you've watched any of the documentaries about the way Facebook has been designed and the way they put the algorithm together and all of that, it's all about getting dopamine, and we get addicted to that continual that hit that we're getting all of the time. So I'm going to recommend, number 1, you take social media off the phone. That's the first thing. And honestly, it has made a big difference for me when I'm out and about, and I go to pick my phone up and there's no social media on it. I've got nothing to look at. And it's like, okay, so now what do I do? If I'm just waiting, well, I just stand there and wait. Quite often I have a book with me, like a physical book. So I might read if I'm waiting, like if I'm in a cafe or something, I'll read if I'm waiting to be served and all of that. So, and because, for me, I enjoy reading, it relaxes me. But for you, find something that you can do instead. And maybe it is going and making a cup of tea. Maybe it is going outside and taking a big deep breath. Maybe it is doing your breathing exercise. So you see a lot of these tips you can actually do together, but find ways to redirect your mind into something that is more beneficial to you rather than the mindless scrolling. Be mindful. In essence, be mindful. So rather than being mindless in the scrolling, be mindful. And if you do decide that what you want to be doing right now is to be looking at Facebook. Be mindful about it. Give yourself a time limit. Don't get caught up and wait for it to all become mindless. So be mindful. So do these things, make a choice, make an active choice rather than it's just a habit of what I'm going to do. As soon as I've finished one piece of work, I just pick up my phone and look at something else. And this is something I'm working on. As I said, I've taken it off my phone and it's really easy. It's on my computer. I've actually got to find an app where I can actually lock myself out of on the computer for a certain amount of time. I still need to be able to do some work, but that's one I'm working on right now. And then another one, so tip number 5 is at the end of the day, if you've had a very busy day, don't come home and fill your mind up with more busyness. Have a ritual around, winding down at night. After dinner, take some time, and maybe this might be a time where you can do some journaling, or you might want to do some meditation, but find a way to wind down for the day, whatever works for you. Maybe it's sitting there talking with your partner, your kids, but having this reset that finishes the day. We've had this day, we've had a busy day, but close it off and go, okay, after 7 p.m., there is no more work time. I have now closed out work. Now I'm going to do something different. I'm going to, and whatever that is for you, it might be journaling. It might be, journal with a cup of tea or something like that, and some nice sleepy time tea that's going to help you wind down. Because what we want to do is to get you to relax so that when you go to bed, you sleep and you have a good night's sleep. So tomorrow you wake up refreshed and ready to start the day. So that was 5 different tips. Number 1, breathing. Take moments to breathe. Number 2, have a ritual where you do something in between tasks, or you break each task up. Number 3, ask yourself, what do I need right now? Number 4, get rid of that scrolling and replace it with something that actually revitalizes you and brings you more present and is more mindful. And number 5, have a ritual at nighttime that you wind everything down and you prepare for bed, and then you get a good night's sleep and starting again. So, there's lots of other different things you could be doing as well, and maybe you've got a few different little tips that you have that you'd like to share. Just let me know. Email me at angela@angelacouncil.com and share what is it that you do to break the day up so that you don't feel overwhelmed all of the time. And whatever you do, just make them simple, because when they're simple, they become sustainable. And then you find that you become more energized, that you can actually stay grounded, and you don't get, all in your head and all this stuff going on and spinning around. And it's like you stay mindful and grounded to what you're doing, because it's quite often we can't control the outside of what's going on, but we can always control how we react. So that's it from me. Hopefully that was helpful. Feel free to share this episode with other women you think might find it useful. And I'll be back next week for another episode of the Wise Women's Conversations. Bye for now.